What makes a good quest in World of Warcraft? That's what I want to talk about today, because quests are a staple of this game. It's a staple of the MMORPG genre, just RPGs in general. You're going on a quest, right? What makes a good quest versus a bad quest? There's plenty of people that go, oh, I love this quest over here. I love the quest in this zone. I love these types of quests, but then they're like, oh, I hate that quest. Those quests are dumb. Whatever, right? So what makes a good quest and what makes a bad quest? And that's kind of what I want to talk about today on Crendor Talks in front of a shitty green screen. But first, I want to give a quick shout out to the channel sponsor, Zygor. Zygor has a bunch of guides in retail and classic WoW and classic hardcore. I've been using them to level in classic hardcore. I've used their holiday guides to get stuff done like the Midsummer Fire Festival fires and all the other holiday stuff. It's great. You can check it out in the description. And if you enjoy it, you can use code Crendor for 20% off an elite subscription. So I was trying to think of the best way to describe a quest and how a quest acts in the game, right? Like, what is the point of a quest? And to me, I think the best way to put it is a quest adds flavor. A quest is like the spice to your food, right? It's the seasoning of your food. You can eat the food and be like, it tastes like nothing. Or you can eat it and be like, wow, that tastes really good. Or you can be like, oh, it's over seasoned. It's really bad, right? It's the seasoning, the flavor of the food. And so the food itself is kind of the meat of whatever you're going on the quest for, right? Go kill 10 boars, go kill 10 spiders, go talk to that guy, like whatever it is, that's the food. And so how are you going to spice that up? And so think about it this way. I always like to bring up this example. So back in the day, they used to have daily quests in World of Warcraft, right? And so you go do your dailies and you're like, all right, whatever. But it almost hit this point of like, oh, I got to go pick up my dailies. This is so annoying. I don't want to do that. But then they swapped it over to the like world quest style, which was like, oh, these quests are happening out in the world. And it's like, oh, that's cool. I can go like take part in that. And really, they were really just dailies, but without the act of accepting the daily. But the reasoning of that is just because when you go to accept the daily, it almost feels like you're doing this task, like you're doing these like to-do chores, right? Like, oh, I got to go pick up all my dailies. I got to do but when you go out into the world and you do these world quests, it becomes like, wow, I'm like going all over having an adventure. I got to go over here and kill these guys. I got to go over here and kill these guys. And I always really enjoyed the world questing system for that reason. It gave you this weird, like, mental game of like mixing up what a daily really is, when really it is just a daily quest. And so that's kind of what I like talking about quests as, because if you say, go kill 10 boars, it's like, well, why am I going to kill 10 boars? Well, what's the reason, right? The reason is what makes such a good quest a lot of the time. You could be like, go kill 10 boars because there's too many boars on my farm and they gotta die, right? Like whatever. And you're like, okay, but let's say maybe it's go kill 10 spiders. And you're like, you know what? My town is being attacked by spiders. They're attacking people's pets. They're attacking people's families. Like, these spiders got to be stopped. And you're like, oh, you know what? Like, these spiders are endangering the town. Like, all right, you know. And now you've become somewhat of a chosen hero to go save this town by killing these spiders. But really, it's just the same thing. You're just killing 10 spiders. But now in your mind, you've created this story. You now have a story in your mind of like, all right, these spiders are wreaking havoc. I got to stop them. And so, you know, in a bad quest line, I think you'd kill the spiders, and you go back to the guy and he's like, oh, hey, thanks for doing that. All right, see you later. But I think in a good quest story, you talk to him and he's like, oh my God, like you actually did this. You saved our town. Thank you so much. I got to introduce you to like my family or like the people I work with. And maybe he takes you over there and then you start this whole new quest line. And then, you know, you have numerous quests within that. And you start building up this reputation in the town. And, you know, this one quest of kill 10 spiders has now created this little story. And so you think back on that like, hey, you know what? You know, I saved the town from these spiders and then I helped them do this and this. And now, you know, I'm like this big person known in this town. I've built up my reputation and it feels great. You know, you've went on an adventure instead of like, go kill these mobs. You did it. Good job. Like the thing that you're eating is the same food, right? Both meals are kill 10 spiders, but one has this built up story and it sends you on this adventure. And the other is just like do a task for no reason, right? And I think that really is what empowers a lot of questing is the sense of adventure. I even read somewhere, someone said it's a self-contained story. And I thought that was a really cool way of putting a quest. It is a self-contained story. you know, I've been playing a lot of classic hardcore WoW lately, and there are a lot of, you know, whatever quests in classic hardcore WoW, but there's actually a lot of good ones. For example, in Hillsbrid, I always enjoyed where you have to go kill, you know, mountain lions or whatever, and obviously that sucks. Like, the drop rate's so low. I hate that the drop rates are low. It doesn't make sense. Like, oh, the mountain lions don't have blood. The bears don't have asses. Like, whatever it is. And then you get it, and you make this potion. And he's like, okay, go give this to Stanley. And so you go give this potion to Stanley the dog, and he's like, "Bleh," and he becomes like a crazy wolf, and you got to kill him, and you get some bonus experience for killing him. And you got to go back and be like, dude, that dog went crazy. And he's like, oh, all right, the potion worked. And I always thought that was like a fun type of fetch quest compared to a lot of the quests where it's like, hey, just go talk to this guy. And you just go talk to him, and he's like, hey, good job. Anyway, see you later. Like, it just feels like it ends and there's nothing else there. Like, at least in the Stanley one, you essentially did a fetch quest, but you went and then had this little adventure happen. You're like, oh god, the potion worked. And you go back and tell him like, yo, the potion worked. He's like, shit, dude. Right? And so I think there's so many cool quests because of that concept. One really cool one in BFA is the First Mate Jamboya quest line. And I actually talk about this in my Pointless Top 10 Pirates, which you can check out at the end of the video or somewhere, I don't know. But, you know, First Mate Jamboya is this pirate who's like tied up on this post, and you get there and like one of your friends is dead, and he's like, ah, that sucks. Anyway, want to help me? And you have to like help him, and you learn about this pirate curse and how all these like pirates got cursed, and now they're all skeletons, and they're just trying to break free, and you help them like burn the boats. You help them do all this stuff. And then after all this, the guy you've learned about, the Pirate King, shows up, and he fights the Pirate King. You fight him with him, and then it breaks the curse, and you know, you're good to go. And it was like, wow, this was like a story within a story, right? You're in the World of Warcraft questing for like the overarching story, but then there's this little story within that, and it almost feels like you went on this mini adventure. And I think it doesn't have to be as epic as this, right? Where you're like fighting pirate kings and do all this stuff. But I think that was one of the best quest lines in BFA. And, you know, a top tier one in World of Warcraft. I mean, even is something as simple as Mancrick's wife, right? It's like a meme at this point if you're a horde that's gone to the Barrens. But like, there's a reason it's become a meme. It's because you learn about Mancrick's wife and you have to go find her, and then she's dead, and you go back and he's like, oh, thanks. Right? It's like such a basic, easy quest to do because you just go find her and click and then report back. But then you're like, shit, dude, like this guy's wife just died to these quillboars. Like you're learning something about this dude that was just standing in the crossroads, just like, duh, right? And it makes you feel something for him. I think a really good example of this in Dragonflight would be the Tuskar and Kalagos, where if you haven't played it, Kalagos goes with the Tuskar, and he's like trying to live their life. He's like eating soup with them, and then they go on this big adventure, and they're like, whoa, he was a dragon. Like, they didn't even know he was a dragon the whole time. And there's crazy shit that happens. I don't want to spoil it if you haven't done it, but like, it was one of my favorite quests in Dragonflight. I was like, this is amazing. This storyline alone was better than Shadowlands lore, right? Like, I thought it was amazing. But then if I look at the overarching story or the main story in Dragonflight, I'm like, you know, I kind of just don't care. I'm like, oh, whatever. But then one of these side quests, you know, one of these little side stories is like one of my favorite things they've put into the game. And so I think a lot of times the side quests or the side stories are kind of my favorite parts of World of Warcraft. And I mean, it ties back to classic WoW. There's so many of those side stories. You don't really have this big overarching story like, what is Arthas doing? What is the dragon aspect thing doing? What's the Dragonflight doing? What's Garrosh, Hellscape? It's just like, you're an adventurer and you're just out adventuring. And you stumble across a quest and you have a little mini story occur, and then you go on to the next zone and you have another little mini story occur, and you just have so many little mini stories occurring all over. And after you've done all these, you feel like you've gone on this grand adventure because all you've been doing is just a bunch of little stories, and you've built up all these little stories into one big story. And then you're like, shit, dude, that was pretty cool. Right? I think people have gotten, or even just writers have gotten so tied up in like, we need to make this grand epic story where you're this god slayer and you're like killing like crazy shit and titans, and you're going, and it's like, sometimes you just need a little quest, you know? Sometimes you just need a small little quest with a purpose. And sometimes it's better to eat a really small piece of food that's seasoned perfectly than some grand feast of all these different things that taste like ass, right? I mean, and I think that's kind of what World of Warcraft has gotten away from over the years, and that's what made me enjoy Dragonflight, is because they actually had a lot better side quests, like the Tuskar thing, or even the Chromie side quest. Not the main story with Chromie, but like the little zone quest stuff with Chromie and those Dormu and all that, right? I was like, well, this is a great step in the right direction, because I think this is what made World of Warcraft, or all these little stories throughout the world. The actual World of Warcraft and the quests that you do in World of Warcraft that make you feel like you're an adventurer. You don't need to feel like you're a big god slayer. You just need to feel like you're on an adventure, and that, you know, you're creating your own story in a way. And I think that is the best way to design a quest, is to make the player feel like they're going on their own adventure, even though everyone else is doing it too. So let me know down in the comments section below, what do you think makes a good quest? Because I don't know, I've been wanting to rant on this for a while. If you couldn't tell, I get a little passionate there at the end, but you know, I think storytelling and questing kind of go side by side, and I don't think it's that hard to kind of get back to the roots of what made World of Warcraft what it is, which is all these little side quests, because we still have them in the game today. It's just, you know, so much effort goes into the big story, and I don't think it has to be that way. I mean, sure, you can make the big story better as well, but I think it's just the sum of all the parts, right? I think everything adds up to make the game. It's not just the big story. It's all the little stories, because if anything, you spend more time doing the little stories anyway. So let me know down in the comments section what you think. Like, comment, subscribe. Thank you very much for watching. And go check out Pointless Top 10 Pirates, because I talk about that one quest there. Right there. Click it. You click it. I'm done. So you could just click it right now. I'm not saying anything else of worth. Go click it. You click it right now. Go check it out. Okay? Okay. See ya. Just click it. Just click it.